Madurai Kamaraj University, MA Linguistics in Annamalai University, MSc Psychology in Madras University. This stalwart is qualified with SLET English in Bardiyar University, Coimbatore, and completed his doctorate in Alagappa University. In addition to this, he is Cambridge University's Business English Certificate Trainer and has passed National English Language Testing Service (NELS) with A grade. This versatile personality has worked in various prestigious institutions like Bannariamman Institute of Technology, Satyamangalam, PSG College of Technology, Coimbatore, Tyagarajar College, Madurai, uh, and is currently the head of the heading the Department of English at Sri Krishna Arts and Science College, Coimbatore. To his credit, our distinguished chief guest has authored the book titled Derridian Difference and Buddhist Sunyata. He has also published an umpteen number of journals. Welcome, sir. Now the session is yours.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I hope I'm audible to everyone. Am I audible, ma'am?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Okay. So just give me a few minutes. Actually, in my laptop, I don't have the Zoom, so it is getting installed. So that as soon as it is ready, I'll do the presentation from the laptop. So we are talking about Generation Z and their expectations when it comes to English language teaching or English literature classrooms. Now, at the outset, how many of you know who are these the Generation Z or the Z generation? Can anybody tell me, unmute and tell me who they are? I think you are into the third day, and definitely you might have heard a lot about the Generation Z and about its characteristics. So before I could begin my lecture, I would like to clarify as to your understanding of this generation. So once we understand this generation, I think we can easily understand their expectations, and we can tailor our teaching methodology in order to suit them. So how many of you, can anyone tell me who these Generation Z are? Okay, since I don't know, maybe you may have some problem in getting connected. So let me tell you, in general,
what happened?
I think, am I audible, class?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And now only I'm audible, right? Because I think I unmuted. Okay. So before I could start the session, or before I get into the main points of my discussion, I just wanted to clarify the Generation Z, what it means and what their characteristics are. So we have a few categories of persons who are born between 1946 until now. So in the first category, you have uh, persons who are born between 1946 to 1964. We call them the baby boomers. And from 1965 to 1980, we call them the Generation X. And from 1981 to 1995, we call them the Generation Y or the millennials, and Generation Z or Generation Z, those who are born after 1995. And those who are born after 1995 and who are are students, okay, persons, so persons who are born between 2000 and 2010, okay, they are now with us. They are the new generation, the Generation Z or the Generation Z. So they are the persons who have been growing up in a time of uncertainty, who are who are faced with lots of challenging events across the world, like September 11 attack on the World Trade Center, and the economic recession, and the changing norms, and the increased racial diversity, and the shifting gender roles. So Generation Z are totally in a different environment altogether when you compare them with the baby bloomers or Generation X and so on. Okay, so they are the persons who live or who are really, they are matured and they are self-directed and they are resourceful. Okay, one incident which I can easily narrate. These days, when we are struggling to use the smartphones, the kids who are just in schools, they are able to use smartphones in a much efficient way than we old peoples, right? So in that way, the Generation X, they are really mature, they are self-directed, and they are resourceful. Okay, you can't go to one of the Generation Z students class without any preparation. Okay, it would be chaotic, and you will have to cut a sorry figure what the phrase means, because they know what you're going to talk about even before you come to the class. So unless you thoroughly prepare yourself and go to their classes, you can't win them over, or you can't cater to their needs. Okay, and if you're talking something not that sensible, they will not mind you at all. Okay, they will be busy with their smartphones, and they won't even listen to what you're talking. So you'll have to constantly call for their attention, and you'll have to give them lots of instructions and directions. But if you are prepared, right, if you're prepared to feed them to their inquisitive and self-directed resourcefulness, which already they are, then definitely you can taste a bit of success in your teaching. Okay, so they are a highly tech savvy individuals, the Generation Z, and if you are not prepared for their classes, definitely you will find the teaching profession not quite interesting. Okay, why? Because the Generation Z, they know how to self-educate and find information. Okay, and these days we are familiar with lots of YouTube and so many social media apps are there. The Generation Z, they are capable of educating themselves. Okay, so they know far more better than what you already know. Okay, and they know where to find information. Just to give you a small example from my life. See, I was handling, MA students a tough play. And even this play was prescribed when I was doing my MA in St. Joseph's College, Trichy. And from then on, I was searching, no, I was trying to get hold of the text of the play. And I tried all the methods, Googling with players, with this hint and that hint. And I was unable to order the book online, and I was unable to get hold of any no e-copies. Just before starting the class, I just told a small, the student of mine, uh, I just told her that I've been trying to get this text for so long, but I'm unable to. If you can get it, I'd be very happy. You know what? Within 5 minutes, she downloaded the PDF of the rare text, which I was searching for a long time, and she gave it to me. Then we took a photocopy of it and we dealt it in the class. So what I'm trying to tell the teachers here is that the Generation Z, they are self-taught. Okay, they don't need your teaching. Okay, they can learn themselves, and they can find information which you teachers, no, we teachers, we can't even get hold of such information, but they will be able to do it. So the Generation Z, they watch lessons online. Nearly 33% of the Generation Z, and thanks to COVID pandemic, everybody is into online thing and they watch lessons online, 33% of them. And rarely, maybe 20% of them read textbooks. Maybe the percentage would be much lesser. Maybe you can add to this the persons who read through tablets and so on. And nearly 32% of them, they work with their classmates online. So, see, my daughter who is in 6th standard, she has her own friends group wherein they share the today's homework. They share the photocopy of the text which the other person doesn't have, and they work with their classmates online. And 52% of the Generation Z, they use YouTube or other social medias for any typical any research assignments. You give them anything that you ask them to do, they do that online. So they are tech savvy, and they learn a lot watching things online. And it is, you need to be very, very careful when you are teaching them. Okay. And the Generation Z, they are fast movers. Okay. And their attention span is very, very short. Okay. The Generation Z is no exception in the sense, like any other students, they can't be now looking at the teacher, and they can't listen to lectures for long because their attention span is very, very short. And they prefer lots of visuals than text. And they say the Generation Z has an attention span of just 8 seconds. And they prefer a number of screens for multitasking, like they're comfortable with TV, phone, laptop, desktop, their iPod, or any other portable devices which they have. So when you have such a fast moving generation, when you have persons, your classmates, your students whose attention span is very, very low, you need to be very captivating, and you need to be highly interesting in order to get their attention and to have a kind of a meaningful teaching. Okay. I think there is someone's video is on. If you could turn off the video, it would be not distracting. I'll just check whether my PPT is presentable. So give me a few more minutes for the PP to be on me. So in order to communicate or in order to engage the Generation Z, as teachers, we need to communicate with them with images. That is, you can't be 100% verbal. Okay, gone are the days of chalk and talk. Okay, you can't simply go to a class with text in your hand and a chalk and a duster. No, right? They prefer what shall I say? A classroom which is modern. Okay, at least barest minimum they should have at least a PPT where you can show them few slides. Okay, first thing, in order to teach the Z generation, what you need to do is first you ought to communicate with images. Okay, so kindly, whatever lessons that you're going to teach, you try to create a visual, okay, maybe in the form of PPT or an audio visual, maybe a YouTube video or a small clip from a cinema. So the Z generation, they are no they don't have very good attention span. So it would be nice if you could communicate with them with images, first thing. And second thing, if you're going to their class, you need to create things. Okay, not I'm not talking about your B.Ed, M.Ed, no study aids which you prepare for the classes. Of course, if you could do that, it would be nice. But you need to be creative. You need to create things in order to capture their attention, in order to make them focused with what you are going to teach. So first thing, communicate with images. Second, create things. And third, please be future focused. So if you are going to teach now as a teacher, so definitely you're not going to teach any baby bloomers or Generation X. All of you are going to teach the Generation Z or the Generation Z, and hence keep these points in your mind. You try to communicate or try to teach them with images. Second thing, create things. Be very highly creative. Okay, you ought to know to think about how you are going to present this particular concept or this particular poem or this particular grammar concept to them in a creative way. And you can also take lots of teaching aids into your class. Okay, so create things. Then third thing, be future focused. Okay, they are not the students of yesteryears, and they are not students like us. No, when we were learning, we were highly respectable to our. No, we would respect our teachers much, and our level of interacting with our teachers was entirely different from the way in which our students now interact with us. Okay, so you need to be highly future focused. And next thing, you need to be realistic. Be realist. Okay, so I told you that the Generation Z, their attention span is very low. So don't have high expectations that my students should be like this, like this, like this. No, be realistic. And most of the students that you are going to get in the immediate future are going to be the Corona batch, wherein they have been used to online teaching for 2 to 3 years, and they are not in the mindset for sitting in your class for more than an hour and listen to your lectures. So be realistic, and you have to want to work for success. So if you don't have the thirst not to work to make them highly interesting in what you're trying to say, definitely you will fail as a teacher. So just the 5 characteristics or 5 things that you need to be focused with regard to Generation Z is: first, you try to communicate with the Generation Z with images, then create things, and be future focused and be realist. And you have to want to work for their success. You have to put your heart and soul into what you're going to teach, and you have to be at it. Okay, you can't just take things for granted. You need to be highly creative, highly hardworking, in order to be an excellent teacher, or in order to get a very good feedback from them that you have done some kind of justice to what the responsibility that has been handed on to you. Okay, now um, another thing that the Generation Z, which makes them a lot different from the baby boomers or the Generation X or Generation Y. See, long ago, the baby boomers, when they were into schools and colleges, they really flourished, or they really they were very happy with the coaching and mentoring situations which they had as students. So they were flourishing in a kind of an environment where coaching and mentoring was the order of the day. And slowly it changed. For the Generation X, they were looking for opportunities for alternative learning activities, such as independent research and uh, skill building and all that. And the Generation Y, they believe that learning experiences are valuable, and not only do they want to learn from the instructor, but the instructor was or should be willing to learn from them as well. So this was kind of a vital component in building strong relationship with this generation. So with Generation Y, you not only teach them, but you learn along with them. That was Generation Y. And now the Generation Z, about which we are talking about, they crave regular and technology enhanced learning opportunities. I repeat, the Generation Z, they crave regular and technology enabled learning opportunities. Okay, so in order to teach the tech savvy kids, you ought to be tech savvy yourself. Okay, so you will have to look for or your student, the generation of students that you are going to teach to, they will be looking for educational opportunities that use visually or enhanced methods of teaching. So I think these days virtual reality, other simulations, no, it has taken our learning to really the next level. Okay, so unless you employ such visually enhancing virtual reality and other latest scientific and technological innovation, it would be very, very difficult for you to capture their attention. Okay, you can never ever be a successful teacher with your age old chalk and talk method, definitely. So you need to learn what the next generation skills are, and you'll have to employ them with your teaching methodology, and you'll have to teach them with all that. Because I repeat once again, I repeat, Generation Z, they crave regular and technology enabled learning opportunities, and they look for educational opportunities which are visually enhanced methods, visually enhanced methods of teaching. So since they have a kind of a short attention span, you need to be highly interesting, innovative, technologically fast paced, to capture their attention. And now how these various generations work. Okay, see, the baby boomers, the generation which were born in 1945 onwards, they were persons or they were students who liked to process and discuss, collaborate on various works, projects, and issues towards a specific solutions. So they were single focused. They were not distracted. And if you give them a problem, they will look for solutions and they will solve it. And the Generation X, they are they are not much into guided teaching. They were much more self-reliant, and they were like they prefer just do it was their motto. Okay, so they will do it even however the difficult the task may be. And the Generation Y, they were persons or they were human beings who craved a kind of a very balanced work-life approach. They were able to balance. Okay, and this Generation Z, they are different from the previous generations, wherein they stay connected all the time. Okay, see, I remember a colleague of mine. Okay, she said, if I don't change the status, WhatsApp status, definitely my mother or brother who are she was living in a hostel and she was teaching, and they would really think that something has happened to me, and they will immediately call me and ask why I didn't change the status. So each and every hour or maybe a half a day, they change the status in their WhatsApp, and they make sure they stay connected all the time. So the Generation Z is an online addicted generation, and they adopt technology at high levels and they push others to do the same. So when they are trying to push others to do the same, it is like us, no teachers, we ought to be with them. Okay, so we need to embrace technology like how they have embraced technology. And the Generation Z, they approach all aspects of life from a global and visual perspective. So the one point that gets repeated is visual. So if you are teaching a Z generation English language or English literature or grammar, whatever it is, you ought to present the kids, present the students with visual materials so that they can easily connect themselves to it. Okay. Then next, I will just talk briefly about various reward systems. What motivates them to learn? What makes them to come to your class, and what makes them to respond to your class in a positive way? First, long ago in the 1940s, in the generation of baby bloomers, they felt valued and they felt they were rewarded in ways that enhance the future security. That is, if you give them a future promotion, or if you tell them that if you do this, you will get a very good job or something like that, they were easily taken to it and they will do their job really well. So they were oriented towards their future. The Generation X, they valued external recognition such as gift cards or awards or ceremonies. You have a function, tell them you are the best student, they would be very happy. That was Generation X. And the Generation Y, they felt their values rewards or they valued rewards that offered more autonomy and freedom, and they were looking for flexible hours of work, like working from home or online hybrid approaches. So they were much into not gift cards, awards, and ceremonies. They wanted their autonomy, they wanted their freedom. But the Generation Z, to whom we are going to teach, or we are teaching, They need rewards that are changed frequently to meet the changing expectations and demands. Okay, so of two Generation Z, what you have, uh, for one class. So if you tell them that maybe if I just take anyone who answers the question right, I will take them for a cup of coffee, and maybe if they answered right, you take them for a cup of coffee. You cannot have this reward alone, no, as on a permanent basis. No, okay, because the Generation Z, they need rewards that are changed frequently, and they're changing. You have to change the rewards based on the expectations and demands. Okay, so they are not a Generation Z. You can never ever easily satisfy them by giving them rewards or by following a specific methodology. No, they don't buy it. Okay, so they are no drifting, and they are changing themselves frequently, and their expectations and their demands also change very rapidly. So you have to think of a suitable reward system, and you'll have to change it constantly, no, based on their expectations. Then only you can keep them motivated. Okay, so that is one more point. And now let me briefly touch upon the attitude towards authority. Okay, as a class teacher or as a teacher, you are a person of authority, and uh, in what way can you exercise? Okay, let me go down uh, from the baby bloomers. So the baby bloomers, they believed respect must be earned, and they learned to receive and to keep the respect. Okay, so they were the baby boomers. And in the Generation X, they had respect for authority, but they wanted a less formalized relationship with authority figures. And uh, they enjoyed being on a first name basis with the colleagues. Okay, and the Generation Y, they were not opposed to no respecting authority, but they questioned why it should be unconditional and automatic, and they were not afraid to ask for what they value, no, in various situations. And now let's come to the Generation Z. How, what is the kind of attitude they have towards authority? See, the Generation Z, they are no, it is of high maintenance, and they want high intensity in the relationship with those in authority as well as the co-workers. So they are persons, the Generation Z, they are highly intense. Okay, and they enter into no a relationship with you, no, and they really want to be with persons who have authority, and they are not averse to having persons who have authority as their close confidant. Okay, so they say that familiarity breeds contempt. So you need to be very, very cautious when it comes to exercising your authority with the Generation Z. You can't be like the traditional teacher. Okay, you cannot go everywhere with stick in your hand and beat them and give them discipline. No, it is not going to work, because the Generation Z, they uh, they they're going to be like your friends. Okay, they would want to be in a kind of a high intense in relationship with you. So um, they will definitely be very close to persons who are having the authority. So you need to be very, very cautious with regard to exercising your authority, because they will be your close confidants. So I have been talking about various things, the characteristic of Z students and so on. So let me quickly uh, revise or go back from the where I began. I'll tell you before I get into the next line of thought. Okay. So first, I started with defining the Generation Z, and I told you about the various divisions that we have, starting from the baby boomers who were persons who were born between 1946 to 1964, and the Generation X, which were persons who were born between 1965 to 1980, and the millennials or the Generation Y, who are persons between 1981 to 1995, and the Generation Z, the current generation, who are born after 1995. I told you in brief about their characteristics, okay, what kind of person they are, and how the Generation Z is mature, they are self-directed, and how they are resourceful, because they lived and they grew in a time of uncertainty, where things which are not that good were happening around them, and how they were the Z generation. It was online most of the time, and how they even work with the classmates online, and how more than 55% of them use YouTube and other social media for their learning purposes and for so many other things. Okay, so first I taught you about, or I told you about the Z generation, and a very important characteristics of them is their attention span is very, very low. So that point I stressed upon, and from there I moved on to what are the things, 5 things that you need to be ready if you are going to teach a Generation Z. First one, communicate with them through images, because the Z generation, they are visual. And second thing I told you, create things. Okay, they are persons who are into creating lots of things. And if you are a teacher, especially an English teacher, you need to go to their classes with full of creativity. Now, not only teaching aids, but even some other quick games and innovative things that you need to do in order to capture their attention. So you create things. And I told you that if you are going to teach the Z generation, you have to be future focused. And fourthly, I told that you need to be realistic in your expectation. And another thing, if you want to be a successful teacher to this generation, you will have to want to work for success. The success you can't achieve with just being who you are. You need to put in lots of efforts in order to become a very good teacher for them. And then from there, my focus was on to the learning preferences of the Z generations, and I listed how the other generations preferred learning, and how the Generation Z learns. So baby boomers, they flourished with coaching and mentoring. The Generation X, they were looking for alternative learning, and the Generation Y, they considered learning experiences valuable, and they wanted to learn along with the instructor. But the Z generation, they crave regular and technology enhanced learning opportunities. So the Z generation's preference for learning is not like the outdated mode of learning. They are technically savvy, and they want the teachers to be highly technical, and they want to be taught with the technology. Okay, and that was about their learning preferences and how they work. The work style of various generations was the next point that I discussed. So the baby boomers, they were into discussing, collaborating, but the Generation X, they were much more self-reliant, and Generation Y, they were trying to balance life and work. But the Generation Z, they are always connected. They are online most of the time, 24/7. They are online. So if you want to teach the Generation Z, you need approaches. You need to approach all their life from global and visual perspective. So that is what I talked about their working style. And then I moved on to the reward system. Okay, how can you reward and motivate them to listen to you, or how can you use this reward and punishment system with them in the class? With the baby boomers, if you tell them that the future is going to be secure, that you need this first for their future, they will grab it and they will listen to you. And the Generation X, they valued external recognition such as gifts, awards, and ceremonies, etc. And the Generation Y, they were more autonomous, and they were more freedom craving. But the Generation Z, they are totally different persons, wherein you cannot predict them. What works in one class will definitely not work for the same set of students in another class. So you need to tailor yourself, tailor your reward and punishment system, because they are friendly with the persons who are in authority. Okay, they always don't consider people with authority, the teachers, as their teachers. They just move along like friends. So you need to be very, very careful. So having said all this, let us discuss what kind of teachers are we going to be. Okay, are we ready? We need to think about our own self. Okay, and since they are quite demanding, okay, the Generation Z, the current generation to whom we are teaching, we need to do a kind of self exploration as to check whether am I in the right track. Okay, will I be a very good teacher to them? See, the Generation X is poised to transform the way we learn, the way we teach, the way we buy, the way we work, the way we live. Okay, we are in a totally different atmosphere than we were used to be. Okay, so we need to prepare ourselves as individuals, and we need to make use of the so many opportunities that are there out in the world. We need to learn from it, and we need to utilize it to be a successful teachers for the current generations. And the baby bloomers, we were talking about X, Y, and Z. Now it is the next generation has come. Okay, we have I generations, and they are highly technical, and they are highly, demanding. Okay, so they live in an inclusive atmosphere, the sense they are not shocked to many things that were shocking to us. Okay, and um, you need to be very, very forward looking, and you ought to learn with them by doing, by collaborating, and also by integrating. Okay, so whether you are a teacher or whether you're going to be a learner, because these days, if we don't improve our resume or CV, it is very difficult for us to survive in this educational system. So as teachers and as learners, we need to learn by doing things with the G generation, and we need to collaborate with them, and we need to integrate a lot. Okay, because this generation has the ability to process massive amounts of information quickly, and they qualify themselves to be excellent students. Okay, so they thrive when challenged and allowed to be, when you allow them to be more fully engaged with their education. More than half, okay, they prefer hands-on training, and more than half they prefer hands-on training, and more than 38% of them they learn by seeing, and very less, just 12% of them are no good at learning by listening. Okay, so you need to be very no cautious, and you need to be quite no be prepared to teach the students who are the Generation Z, who learn less by listening. Okay, just 12% of their learning takes place by listening. And as I have been telling since the beginning, they are visually no oriented. You give them, they learn by seeing. Nearly 40% of the Z generation, or the nearly 40% of their learning happens through seeing, and the rest half it is done by hands-on training. So um, I think the school education they have already embraced, and they are quite into teaching the Generation Z, because very long ago, I think more than a decade ago, they started teaching what is called ABL, that is activity-based learning. Okay, so maybe they were doing it in schools, and I think we have not, we at the college level, I think we have not embraced that. So it's high time, as teachers of English language and literature, we need to give the students a hands-on training. You cannot be satisfied with 45% of non-stop teaching, non-stop lecturing. No. Okay, you should involve them, you should provide them hands-on training, and because they learn a lot by seeing, you give them lots of visual things. So that is the foremost thing as teachers of this modern generation we ought to do. And another important thing is that the Z generation, they are independent and technologically savvy, and they value face-to-face interaction, and they value collaborations. So you give them a guided project, you give them something which they collaborated do with their peers and also with you. And this generation, they make no distinction between no devices or online territories. For them, learning is a continuous, multifaceted, and completely an integrated experience. So they connect socially, they connect academically, and they have lots of professional interests. Okay, so to teach this generation, you ought to be all these. You ought to be all these. You ought to be multifaceted. You cannot, you can't simply say, see, I have been teaching this American literature since I joined the college, and I will teach only this. Okay, I'm comfortable only teaching this subject, and I'm comfortable only teaching but this particular thing. You can never ever restrict yourself, and you ought to be multifaceted. You have to embrace technology, and you'll have to integrate all that you are learning along with them in terms of technology. You will have to utilize all that, and you'll have to do. So now I shall try to, one sec, I'll just get my PPT running, because what I'm trying to talk now, maybe most of you are Z generation, born after 1995 and 2000. What I'm trying to do is the thing that you shouldn't do. Okay, you should not be talking. You should show them some visual. So I forgot to install Zoom in my laptop. I thought it would be Google Meet or something. So that's the reason why I was unable to show you my PPT. I'll just quickly do the thing. It has been, just give me 2 minutes time. Oh, I'm really sorry. Actually, this is the thing that we shouldn't do as teachers. Okay. So when we are teaching a generation full of tech savvy kids, if we are not tech savvy, definitely we'll cut a sorry figure, like what I'm trying to avoid. Okay. So the thing is, we need to be highly technically savvy, which I wasn't. Okay, so I'm just trying to teach you something which no, which I don't follow myself. If we are like this in front of our students, definitely I don't think so. We will be effective as teachers. So being highly technically savvy is the one good thing as teachers to this generation, which will know which will make us attractive as teachers. So when you go to class, definitely hardly you will find any student who is not having a smartphone. Okay, so these days the smartphones are, it is everywhere, and you will find uh, not even one student who is without a smartphone, without a data pack. So, as teachers, definitely you ought to try new online features, which are, no, the resources are unbelievable, unimaginable, and innumerable. So you can give them a kind of an online quiz, okay, which they can do it like, like a video game. They can do it in the class itself with everybody with their smart phone on. There are quiz apps like Kahoot, which really help our it makes our teaching really innovative and fun, challenging. So, as teachers, if we could bring in this online stuff, learning through apps into our syllabi, into our curriculum, definitely we can be on the uh, uh, positive side, or we can be in the advantage side. Uh, Definitely, this will help them to be connected to you and also to what is happening inside. Okay, so uh, try out new technology, try out no new avenues of getting your concept across using this new technology. So that would be definitely be very attractive thing for them to do. And uh, as I was telling earlier, you ought to try an activity based learning or activity based teaching methodology in order to you know uh, be effective. Okay, so you and I have been telling for the past half an hour or so, your chalk and talk method will never it will work, but it will never ever be fully 100% interesting to the modern generation. So you try to embrace new technology. You try to give them, something which they will really enjoy doing. And I think my laptop is gone and I'm unable to install Zoom. Okay, so please bear with me as I go on with my PPT, and um I hope I'll try to put things across in a much more simpler way, so that no, you will find the remaining maybe 10 to 15 minutes somewhat resourceful and useful to uh, what no the purpose that you've joined this FTP for. Okay, so a top five generation Z. If you want to reach out to the Generation Z, the top five things that you can do as teachers. First, use online resources. Okay, so you as much as possible into your teaching methodology, into what you're going to teach, use as much as possible online resources, first thing. And then if your school or college has a kind of a specific platforms, like for us in our college we have a kind of a my classroom portal. Okay, so if you have such portal, even the schools they have so many other apps for their attendance, for their homework and all. So if you have a particular software or particular portal for your school or college, try to use that, or try to use it to its maximum, like getting the assignments and all that. Okay, so use specific website, or use specific portals. And third, uh, you try to get advice from other teachers who are in other institutions. You just try to make yourself be open to their suggestions, and they will have their own they might have tried something, and on a trial and error basis they would have succeeded in one experiment or the other. So you try to get the advice from other teachers and other peers or others who are into teaching language and literature from other institutions. And then you talk to your friends also about how to make your teaching effective. That would be a very nice thing to do. So these generation, the younger generation, the tech savvy generation that you are going to teach, they are diverse in nature. Okay, they are from different states, they speak different languages, and they are digital natives. Okay, and digital native in the sense they when they were, kids, when they were first 1 year or 2 year old, they are given mobile first. Okay, and they watch lots of YouTube, watch this and that. So the younger generation, they watch more TV, not more traditional TV, but rather they watch 2 to 4 hours of YouTube and other social media, and they have an attention span which is less than 8 seconds. Okay, and for them, no, email is already outdated, and you know you need to be in a different platform than the traditional ones, and they care, or they spend less time with material items than rather than they go and experience, and they do experiences and they do share that in social media. And we had a different kind of influences, and their influences are not celebrities, or they are totally in a different world, and they don't adhere to rigid definitions or identity, and the generation is pluralistic. Okay, so you have to be like them. Okay, you, in Tamil they say, no, aadra maata aati karakkanum, paadra maata paadi karakkanum solvaanga. So since we are going to teach, or we are teaching the new generations, you have to be like them in embracing technology, and you have to be um, very smart. Okay, very up to date, very modern, and all that. Okay, and another important thing that as teachers you need to do is you will have to reskill and upskill yourself. Okay, so the traditional thing that as teachers what we learned or what we did in classes, we need to unlearn, and we'll have to learn new skills. So we'll have to reskill and upskill ourselves, so that you are ready for the generation. You are um, an apt person to teach them. Okay, so reskilling and upskilling is very, very important. And these days, the this generation, they learn anything and they learn from anywhere. And you need to think differently, and you need to solve problems, and you'll have to take the initiative, and you'll have to be self-advocative. Okay, uh, as the technology reshapes, you need to give your students a chance to thrive, in the sense you ought to be a best guide for them. You'll have to combine the technical ability that you have and that you have learned with passion, and you'll have to use the people skills, and you'll have to serve them. You'll have to probe their minds, and you'll have to give them what they crave for. So if you don't do that, definitely it's very difficult for you to um, be successful as their teachers. Okay, and so I've been talking a lot about various other things. So one basic thing that if at all, if you want to take something away from this session, I've been talking for more than 45 minutes. So if you want to take, if you want to embrace anything that a takeaway from this session is that the generation, the modern generation, that you are teaching these days, they are really, really different from what we were as students. So unless you put yourselves into their shoes, and unless you become technically, um, um, uh, adapted to their level, it is very, very difficult for you to be a very good teacher. And uh, main thing, please use technology enabled learning to teach them. You learn the technology first, and you don't have any hesitation to ask your peers for new methodology or new ways of putting the same thing across in a different manner. And this will definitely will help you to be a very good teacher. And these days, you need to teach literature in a different manner. Okay, you can't be giving summaries, and you can't be giving them or dictating them essays and so on. And one challenging aspect is that this generation, they read less. Okay, or they don't read at all. Okay, they are into watching tubes, and they are not, very rarely you find a student taking a book and reading. So as teachers of English, you try to get them interested in learning. Okay, so maybe even in the class, you can give them a short pieces for them to read. You kindle their interest so that they go back home, and they do a little bit more reading from what you have inspired. So get this generation to read. Okay, this generation, it doesn't read much, so you'll have to make them read. And you try to do that in a technologically enabled way. Maybe instead of asking them to read a conventional book, you can give a short documents for you then to read in a small bites, so that maybe when you give them like this for 1 or 2 weeks, when they collect it and no gather it together, it will be like a kind of a real conventional learning. So get them to read and get them to talk. Okay, inside the class, since we are teachers of English, and our main purpose, whether we are teaching literature or language, our main aim as no the English department is that we should help them in getting their communication problems sorted out. So you give them as much of as many chances for your students to get onto the stage to speak. You give them lots of opportunities. So let them talk and let them improve their communication skills. So you can combine your literature teaching no, with what is called communication skill improvement as well. So you find out the struggling student who are no feeling shy to come out. You give them lots of opportunities and make them speak. So give them lots of hands-on training. Uh, Help them to be tech savvy and use their technology. So what you can do is you can ask them to talk and make a 1 minute speech, and you can ask them to send it to you through WhatsApp, and you can groom them through their video talks as well. If somebody is feeling shy to talk in front of the class, you can try to embrace this kind of methodology. You can get them to send you some videos and which they make of themselves, and you can give some corrections and all that you can do. So in general, so you try, we teachers, I can't say you because I'm also into teaching. I'm teaching the Generation Z as well. So please think out of box. Okay, think out of box. And since most of the Generation Z, they are visual by nature, you give them lots of um, stuff which would make them interesting, or which would help them to be attracted to your teaching. Okay, and please try never be like what I am today, right? I failed to embrace technology in the sense I thought I would be in a different platform. I thought I'll be in Google Meet so that I'll be able to do the presentation. But since it was in a Zoom, I was unable to do the presentation. Of course, I could have done it through using mobile, but see, I'm not that tech savvy enough to present from my mobile in Zoom platform and do the talking. So this is how you learn how not to be. Okay, please never ever be like me, not embracing technology. You embrace the technology and you be ready. Okay, and unless you are multifaceted, you will struggle. Like you will struggle to be make an impression. And if you go back home and if you think, what have I done today, you will find a little bit meaningless if you are not catering to their need. And these days communication happens with much speed. Okay, the technology has made it very quick, and you are able to communicate very rapidly and very quickly can do it. So use this speed to communicate with your students, keep them online, keep them engaged, and definitely this will help their learning process very, very interesting and easy. And time is very, very valuable. It is much more valuable. So since the present generation, they can do a lot online. So you can divide much of your teaching into both online as well as offline. So whichever is convenient to you, you try to use it. And only then you will feel connected. Okay, and you have lots of new things to try out. And the generation that you're going to teach or that you're teaching, they're very, very special. They are totally unlike us. Okay, they are not from our generation. They are totally unlike us. They're very special, and you need special methods, special and everything special in order to cater to their need. And they are very optimistic. And since they are into social media, most of them are social advocates, and they are highly inclusive. Okay, and they are highly accomplished, and they are highly pressured as well. So they have lots of pressure. So when you are trying to communicate with this generation, you please have these points in mind. Okay, you communicate with them through visual thing rather than auditory or hearing. No, you try to be visual, and then keep your communications short. That is, whatever they could take, you give them a kind of a stackable content. Okay, give them short content. You don't ask them to read 20 pages, 30 pages. You give them 1 or 2 pages, and you build on 1 or 2 pages each day, and definitely they won't feel much pressure because their attention span is very, very less. So while communicate to this generation through visual media, and keep your communications very, very short. And one more thing that you need to do is feed their curiosity. Okay, this generation, you have to empower them by providing them control over their choices and their preferences and their settings. So when you go to a class, they should be curious enough as to what he's going to do or what she's going to do today. So you feed their curiosity. So you communicate visually, keep your communications very short and try to feed their curiosity, and you be connected to them. Okay, connect to the generation with technologies of various types. I think most of us are in students WhatsApp groups, at least in official groups. So be connected. When you find some interesting video, just post it to them. So be connected to them 24/7, and you inspire them. So they need to be inspired. This generation, they need to be inspired, and they react best when social cause is given. Then they really rally behind. So you be a source of inspiration to them, and generation, they want to build their own expertise. Okay, they are self no taught. They are self reliant. So you shouldn't be a teacher. You ought to be a facilitator. Okay, you are just a facilitator who is facilitating their learning experience. So you have that in your mind. Okay, uh, we can't be like our teachers. Okay, they were teachers, but you are not a teacher, you are a facilitator. Okay, so let me repeat: communicate to them visually, be short in your communication, try to feed their curiosity, be connected to them 24/7 through technology, and you inspire them. Okay, they really like fighting for the causes. You remember the Jallikattu Poratam? That was Generation Z. Okay, they really fought. Okay, that is how you give them, inspire them, and you don't try to lecture them or don't try to educate them. Rather, you be a facilitator, and you give them lots of research based learning experiences, and they prefer variety of active learning methods, and many of the components of the learning environment. You be very clear: less lecture, use multimedia, and help them or make them collaborate with their peers. Okay, so these are the some of techniques which will definitely make you relevant, and be relevant to them. Okay, so one of the greatest challenges that we face is connecting to their present culture, and you need to make the learning and other activities relevant. And the Generation Z is raised in a non-authoritarian manner. Okay, and they will comply with rules and policies when you give them the proper explanation. Okay, they will not take any rule just because it is a rule. You'll have to tell why this rule is there. If you explain the rationale behind them, definitely they will feel comfortable, because they see, you just go back and see the way we respected, the way we feared our parents. It is not so with the younger generations. They live in a non-authoritarian atmosphere. So when you are giving them a rule, give them the rationale behind the rule. And they prefer less normal learning environment. Okay, and they informally interact with others, with you. They prefer kind of an informal interaction, and rapport is very important. Okay, the present generation, they are used to having adults in their lives, and they show lots of interest in them, and they are willing to pursue learning outcomes when you connect with them on a personal level. So you need to be you need to create a very good rapport with them. So all said and done, let me conclude. So what I have given you is not the English teaching methodologies or English oriented no instruction. So what I've done for the past 1.5 hours through my lecture, which is an example of how not to be a teacher for this present generation. Okay, embrace technology, use technology to its best. So I just had lots of visuals to show you. I had few YouTube videos and I had the PPT. But the thing is, since my laptop was not installed with Zoom, I was unable to do it, and I was not knowledgeable enough to do the presentation using the mobile. So I am the best example of how not to be a teacher who is tech savvy, who is not tech savvy. So please don't be like me. Be a person who can embrace technology, and you can use it to the students to their full advantage. And I explained to you the various generations and what their attitude and what they are capable of. And I told you their characteristics and how to model all your teaching and everything to suit them. Okay, so these are the things that I want to tell you, and I think I've told you. So communicate with the present generation using visual media, and keep your communications very short, and try to feed their curiosity, and be connected to them 24/7 with WhatsApp group or whatever group they have. Be with them and inspire them. This generation, if you give them a social cause, they will be there behind you, with you, fighting. So inspire them and give them a kind of an avenue to build their own expertise. Okay, don't try to spoon feed them, because the present generation, they are self-reliant and they are self-taught. So with this, I just wind up for the day. And if you have any queries, you can ask me. And I'm really sorry for not presenting my PPT.
Thank you, sir, for the wonderful session. It was a thought-provoking session. Surely it will be helpful for the faculty members. Now the session is open for questions. Participants can ask your queries.
Thank you so much.
It's a great pleasure to be a part of today's session. On behalf of the organizers, I would like to thank our resource person, Dr. S. Henry Kishore, for sparing his valuable time and giving a wonderful session. I would also like to thank the participants from various higher educational institutions. A good event never ends. It only takes a pass and keep us waiting for the next. With this positive note, I would like to end the session. The feedback link for the Zoom meeting has been posted in the chat box, and for YouTube, it is posted in the comment section. Now the session is ended. I would like to the participants can fill the feedback form and leave the session. Thank you.
ஃபோன் பண்ணேன்னா அந்த வருண் பையன் தான் எடுத்தான். நீ ஸ்கூல் போகலையா? அந்தாலும் வேலைக்கு போகலையாட்டுக்கு. கதவை சாத்திட்டு போ. தங்கத்துக்கு பவுடர் அடிச்சு விட்டு பவுடர் என்ன பண்ணப்பா?